Shez can't get in.
Uh,
No, he's just said, please can somebody let me in. I thought there might be an issue with that buffoon. You know, they don't want a bloody hacker like me going around there, Christ.
No, it's...
Although I did go around Tesco today in 20 minutes under par. Shez, what are them glasses? You shoot. Seriously, who made them?
At least mine fit, you dickhead.
Who made them? Who made your glasses, Everest?
A glass maker.
I've never seen double glazed glasses before. Bloody hell.
Look at that. That's San Miguel 6, Dan. Is that Ian Sheridan San Miguel?
No, that's dark rum, Shez, and dark rum and cola.
Yeah, Ian Sheridan San Miguel, thick and wet.
Gordon, send Lowerhouse to save the house. Come on, the house!
Get them bloody glass. Yes, whatever you do, don't stand near paper if the sun's behind you. Set it alight. Do all these jam know you're using their glass?
No.
Tell you what, Shez, your bloody hair's disappearing, isn't it?
No, it's disappeared, Stan. Yours has still died.
That's not a receding hairline, that's a fleeing hairline.
Are you still working?
Yeah, Nicky, I'm like you. I'll be working till I'm 75.
Well, you dick, I've been retired 18 months.
I live in Sheffield, Nicky.
You live in Sheffield? Or you work in Sheffield?
No, I live in Sheffield, more or less.
Oh, you're on my doorstep
so
then.
I can come and play at Donny with you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Once all this shit's over.
I don't think your wife will be right impressed if I turn up every Wednesday saying, is Nicky coming playing golf? And by the way, I'm in a punk rock band and we're going to play Doncaster City
Hey, don't
Centre.
be too sure, Nicky. Shez, Nicky's still got Liz working. How about that for a fucking game of soldiers?
Absolutely.
He's out golfing and supping and she's at work. Bloody classic. And then she comes home and makes his tea.
can you see everybody, Stan, or not?
No, I could just see whoever's speaking.
Whoa, Joe. Can I have 4 ice creams, couple of pizzas, and you sitting back in your corner? Thanks. Hang on, this has gone all tits up now.
Oh, shit.
Everybody's gone.
Yeah, same with me.
More.
Zoom! Just one look and my heart went zoom. No,
Nicky, I'm on a tablet.
Nick, you know that new computer I got?
Says you need to be on your tablets.
No, I'm on a tablet, and I'm trying to work out what do I do to get everybody in it.
You're asking wrong, but you're asking the wrong.
Oh, I'm in. No,
I look like what is it? Someone intelligent here, don't I?
I look like a what is it? Good start, Shez.
Yes, I've only got 4 faces and one's mine, and I'm not happy with it.
And you've got 2 of them.
I've put 2 stone on since lockdown. It's frightening.
Yeah. What about the 10 you put on before it?
Oh, hello, Twiggy. Listen, where's Woodworth anyway?
He'll be sure he can't get on his camera.
Tony can't make it.
He invited. Well, the coward. I've had a look in the books. Mostly, I was looking for Shez. I was looking for Shez and Gary. No, Gary's not in it, obviously, because he was miserable. But, I can't believe how often you're in it.
That's because you were a proper prankster, weren't you, and blamed everybody else. It's like that seagull he shot at our house, Maggie's house.
Nicky, you're right. On one occasion, he does get fined for being the team prankster.
Does he?
I'll just throw this one in. And it's interesting because, as you know, I deprived Jess from bowling for a number of years. And then he proved me wrong.
Because you bowled yourself and you were shit.
I made up for that, Stan.
Then he proved me wrong. After bowling 2 overs as a recently discovered all-rounder, this is against Ramsbottom. Unfortunately, I don't know what year it is.
I'll be proing next year.
Yeah, Jez proudly boasted I could be proing this time next year. How about that? His first 2 overs in a game as a recently discovered all-rounder. I tell you, he's in hundreds of times rusty. We must have bullied him.
That's why he won't come on podcast, because he says you bully him.
Where's Paul Stanley?
He's here.
He's here.
On another planet like he's always been.
Stanley, I think your mouse transmitter's struggling.
Why don't we have a roll call and see who's on, and then we can do it that way?
Right, okay. Are we ready?
I can only see 4 people, George.
Ignore that. So I'm going to introduce the podcast, and then I'm going to introduce everybody that's on it. You can give us a brief, well, it can be as long as you want. Tell us how you are and what you've been up to, and then we can sort of move on from there.
Yeah, Joe, I've got to leave at 8 o'clock. I've got another engagement, and it's probably better than this one. So do me.
I'll do that now, and I'll do you. Right, okay. Hello and welcome to Housecast. We have a Christmas special tonight where we've got an ensemble cast of Lowerhouse legends to come on and speak to us and tell us some stories. We have our usual co-hosts on. Jez Hope, former first team captain, leading wicket taker. How are you, Jez?
Very well, thank you, Joe. Yes, and thanks for that nice introduction. I pity who's going to have to edit this podcast. We've been on for 25 minutes now and talking absolute shite. So let's see how we go. Yeah, good to see you, Joe.
You too, Jez, as ever. And our other co-host is another former first team captain who was the first captain to win the championship, and that is Joe Beneduce. How are you, Joe Beneduce?
I'm all right, thanks, Joseph. How are you?
I'm very well. Have you been busy?
No.
Good. Okay. So our next guest is also another former first team captain. Used to open the batting, and we don't see him all that often, but it's always great when we do. And that's Nicky Hope. How are you, Nick?
Hooray!
Very well, Joe. Thank you for the fantastic introduction. We're all good here. Bored shitless. I'm sipping about 20 pints of real ale a night, homebrewed real ale. I put an odd pound or 2 on. I'm playing lots of golf, which is good, obviously. And apart from that, I'm bored shitless.
Well, I guess everybody's in that boat, to be honest with you. Hence why we're here. The next guest we have is Gary Morehouse, who also presents our podcast every now and again, which is great. How are you, Gary?
Yeah, great, Joe. Thanks. Good to see everyone. I missed the last couple of evenings together, but yeah, good to see everyone. Oh, look at this.
Oh, jeez.
Sorry, lads, my tea's a bit late. But
Look at that.
No swearing, lads.
I'm muted, so I don't sound like Iggy. But, you know what I call this dish?
Go on.
You can see. I call it my Hope Brothers dish.
Why does it feed 3?
Beef and 2 dumplings.
Thank God for that, Gary. I thought you were going to say sausages.
But yeah, apart from that, Joe, I'm all right, thanks.
Oh, tremendous. Right,
I'm trying to see if I recognise you all. I mean, I know I look a bit different, but who's that?
That's Shez.
Oh.
The clue with the name, Ian Shez.
It's all right, Fran, don't worry about it. You're not Meadowood.
It does look very odd, doesn't he, Fran? Very odd.
Massive.
Yeah,
Welcome and wide.
Yeah, he's not really a welder.
It's still a tosser.
Enjoy your night.
Thank you,
Fran. Bye-bye.
Thanks for that, Gary. That was lovely. Yeah, really good.
Lovely to see, Fran. Merry Christmas, Fran.
Our next guest,
She's gone, Stan, you should have said it when she was there.
Response should have been same, Nicky.
Our next guest is he's very prominent on our podcast, actually. He's discussed a lot, both positively and negatively, and that is Stan Heaton. How are you, Stan?
Well, I was all right, Joe, until you said somebody has spoken negatively about me. Who are they? Give me the names.
I mean,
for men.
Could I just ask as well, Joe, by what stretch of the imagination is Matt Stansfield a legend?
No, legend. Couldn't catch a dose.
Other than that, and I don't want to sound like that sentimental fool, Sheridan, other than that, this is an absolute godsend to be able to speak to pals in this fashion. I cannot wait, and I'm not a government critic, but I cannot wait until the time we can all get together and have a beer.
Yeah, well said, Sam.
I think we should have a monumental piss up.
The laugh must be pretty desperate if you want to see us lot.
Yeah, to be fair, man, it's Stanley. So yeah, we'll have to run with that. Our next guest he's been on the podcast previously as well, and that is Paul Stanley. How are you, Stanley?
Hey.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry
Christmas. Thank you, Stanley.
And I actually joined late on purpose so I could avoid Stan's preamble about parents and juniors and things like that. But I've got to say, it is an honour to be invited on with Legends and Nicky Hope.
Thanks.
Our next guest has been on the podcast before. Another legend of the club and of the punk rock scene, and it's Ian Sheridan. How are you, Uncle Ian?
I'm absolutely icebox as usual. Yes, I'm fine. Thank you. It's always lovely to see you all. I do apologise for my emotional rantings last night, but you say it from the heart, don't you? What I have to say is it's lovely to see us all. I would love to be able to say that you've all aged fantastically, but you haven't. You are like what we are. Old, useless, over the hill, tossers. Love you all.
Yes, give us a line from Pretty Vacant, Chez.
No point asking, you'll get no reply, Jez.
Okay.
Our final guest is our current managing director. And
is that what? Hang on a minute. What did you call him then?
Our managing director. I never swear. I think you'll find.
Those words. Thank you.
You could easily have said that.
But it's Matt Stanley. How are you, MD?
Oh, he can't find
Very good, thank you.
He's missing buttons and can't touch anything, Joe.
Very good, thank you, Joe.
Shez, calm down. Andy, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you, Joe. I was a bit confused when I first came on. When I saw Shez with those glasses on, I thought it was on Nonce-Watch.
Oh, God. Are you all right? Are you all right, Stanley? Do we need to have some kind of intervention? Potty mouth. Excellent. Excellent to have everybody here. We're very conscious Nick has got another engagement. So if there's anything very quickly that you'd like to mention, Nicky, that would be...
Another engagement? How many is that?
Fucking hell.
Like Derry Potter.
Not as many as you, Stanley, that's for sure. And not as public as yours either, anyway. No, nothing. It's just a shame that it's been planned for tonight, because I would have loved to, but it's been, first half an hour has been fucking diabolical, hasn't it?
Utter carnage, Nick.
I haven't been able to see anybody. Shez has took his glasses off, so it could be happening. So, no, I've nothing to say, really. You'll have a fantastic night. I know you'll talk about me all the time whilst you carry on. I might leave it running. Joe, can you send me a recording so I can send it to Mr. Listen?
Of course, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no problem at all.
Nothing else to say, apart from the highlight of my whole life, not just my cricket. it was obviously opening the battle. I watched some seriously boring cricket for about 20 years of my life. While Stan was at the other end, he used to wear out 4 pairs of pads before end of July.
Nicky, it's well past 8 o'clock, Nicky. Is it not time for you to fuck off?
Stan just shaking his head.
And that's how I like to be cricket. I tell everybody I played cricket. Not a particularly good standard, but I did play again opposite the best opening batsman in
Sycamore Avenue.
So no, it was just an honour. I'm going anyway because it started as my other thing.
Sorry, Nick. What you on?
There's a band, a local band that's doing an online thing that they're good. So I've watched for ages.
And that's more important than us.
Pardon?
That's more important than us.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Nick, before you go, would you congratulate Liz for me?
Yes, I will. No problem.
Not on a last man standing win, but on the fact that she can get her legs round your arse.
Okay, I will. On that note, I'll leave it. Hang on a minute, Stan. What happened at the arse measuring competition? And facts don't like quite a lot of these time. And it was done fairly, and it was shown that your arse was much wider than mine.
Right.
Thank you.
Nick, I can't argue with the kangaroo court.
Okay, good lad. Right, have a good time, chaps.
God
See you
bless,
later.
Nick.
Good
See you,
Nick.
Bye.
Cheers, Nick.
Bye-bye.
Stan, do you have any? I know Nick's gone, but do you have any? Come back to that. You've. I guess you're running between the wickets on our podcast has been questioned numerous times.
Well, in all honesty, Joe, I think I've been the victim of gross misrepresentation, and people forget the position of the club and the first team standard at the time. But I'm prepared to take criticism on the chins, and I have to say that when you were batting at Lowerhouse in the first 11, taking quick singles wasn't a priority. Survival was. Thank you, Ian. For that impression. But the main thing is, Joe, that people before me, long before me, our generation, Jez, etc., future generations, the club's still alive and flourishing. So, yeah, let's have a laugh and a giggle. I'm prepared to take anything that's thrown at me. Nicky's very unfair, but I'll take it because I'm a man.
Oh, excellent. That's good stuff. Thank you. Really.
But I will just add this, that your generation, you don't know how lucky you are. You've no idea. No idea.
Oh, Stan, you it's been much documented as well that you had a series of diaries that you wrote whilst you were in the first team, and you've managed to bring some of them along with you tonight. Can you recount any of the stories, please?
Well, maybe not first off, Joe, but I will say this, the diaries had run for a few years until Obergruppensturmführer Moorhausen took over the captaincy and banned them. Because, and he was right to do so, because they'd overtaken the necessity to play hard and win games. And people, we did have some...
They got more points than club had.
We did have some lads in the team who perhaps weren't as win-focused as others. And it had to change. It had to change. But so Gary was right. I mean, there were tough times sometimes under Gary. You turned up for a match and you didn't know whether you were fielding at third man or invading Poland. But you know
we weren't Poland.
The books were great fun, but it had to stop.
Joe, can
I believe we're being asked to tell tales about people. I can refer to the books then, perhaps, Joe.
Sure, Jez.
think we've had a discussion on the build up to this, and I think that brings me nicely on to the point I wanted to make about people. You know, we said we'll have a little think about each other and what we've got stories for each other, with obviously bearing all sorts of things in mind. And that was my point around the people that are on these podcasts, of how genuine, how, you know, the piss taking that goes on is absolutely immense, but how genuine they are. And I think Shez started it yesterday with his sober text messages. So I'd just like to recount around the books and how they happened, because we've talked about them numerous occasions. And what used to happen, Joe, is you'd be playing, and it was tough. You lads play tough now. But back then we were against real top sides, and there were probably only 4 or 5 in the first team that, you know, get anywhere near our first team now. So it was really difficult, you know, before Gary were captain, before I were captain. So it was fantastic to have the camaraderie that Stan brought. And I think that's where it first started, you know, prior to Stan. And it's not a criticism of the players before then, but it was difficult. There wasn't the club spirit, if you will. So Stan bringing those books along, albeit it did get to the stage where it just got people were more interested in listening to the book in the dressing room, because Stan used to read them out straight away. He'd come in and he'd talk about what had happened. You know, we'd just been stuffed, and he'd talk about what happened. Everyone were laughing and giggling. So when Gary came along, you know, I failed to control Stan, so I was feeding the bullets to Gary to say, "Come on, we need to get this sorted out. We need to get it done." So it's all down to Stan. I feel a lot of the banter and the camaraderie that's gone on within the club.
That's very kind, Jez. If I can just come in there. Your generation, I'll put you as a generation younger than me, Jez. Your generation, Jez, was the first time that all the first 11, were, with the exception of Iggy, were a roughly similar age, and maybe Phil. In years gone by, the first 11 have been very mature players and an occasional kid, but very occasional. You're probably talking once every 5 years. They were an older group. And since that era, where the players were all of shall we say, within a 5-year radius, the camaraderie has grown and grown and grown. And maybe the book was needed at the time, but it wasn't needed subsequently. And it certainly wasn't needed when you were losing 14 games on the trot. And you know, there's a right time.
There was gallows humour in that, Stan, weren't there?
A right time and a wrong time.
Can you remember, though, when Gary banned the diaries, that it went underground, and we had a journalist, didn't we? We had a journalist that kept pinning things on the dressing room door.
Called the Wag.
Was it Edward Scissorpen, weren't it? Because Edward Lee were prominent then. Edward Lee were prominent then in the Burnley Express, and Edward Scissorpen appeared. And there were all sorts appearing on dressing room door.
Can you remember any of them, Stanley?
I don't think Stanley were a million miles away from some of them.
The best one's Jez's, what is it? His caricatures, where he used to draw people. Yeah. When he did Yalcum Mardley walking out shouting, "Drinks, lads!"
So the diaries did go, but the entire operation went underground, didn't it?
Tell you what, Stanley, that's a really good point. What happened then? I don't know. Someone just shouted out then. What can you tell us? Any of them?
No.
Stan, do you want to? You remember that we had I think we should. It should remain nameless. We had a postman that played for us, and what went up on the door? Can you remember that, Stan?
Well, strangely enough, Jez, you're in the book for that. Somebody brought a pornographic magazine into the changing room, and
it wasn't me, Joseph.
And you're in the seconds. Jez, you're in the seconds. And Jez started cutting the pornographic magazine up and pinning bits up on the wall. I remember it was in the book for sticking bits on Craig Eaton's face, saying that's the nearest you've ever got to that. And somebody I think this might have been Penny, to be fair. Sorry, Penny, I've not been in it now. Gets the middle pages shot of legs akimbo. Jez said, "What would you do with that cock?" It was a postman at the time, and Penny shouted out, "He'd post a letter through it." But on the subject of Edward Scissorpen,
we need to try and find that, because I think a lot of it, one of that season were maybe flags, and I think a lot of that was like bound together, put in a scrapbook or something and given to him, and it'd be interesting to see if he's still got it, because they were legendary.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, I hope he still has it, because if we could have that back, my goodness me, what memories that would evoke.
I think Dave Watley's letter, speaking of the long-necked goose, I think his letter to me when he got left behind in Preston on Chippy's stag do, I think it were, and ended up walking home at about 4 o'clock in the morning from Preston. I think that got included in that. Somehow I got blamed for that when I wasn't even organising anything. But yeah, it'd be good to see
He had the biggest little toes I've ever seen, because I got ditched, and I got kicked out. And he had the biggest little toes you've ever seen. Walked all the way home from Preston, the dickhead. He could have rung me. Cock.
Is it just me, or can we only see Shez's nose and glasses? He looks like a Chad.
Oh, like Gonzo.
Oh,
Joe, is this one of these where we have to sign out and come back?
No.
Right.
No, it's fine.
Because I could do with replenishing my glass of.
No, yeah, go and get a drink. Go and get a drink.
Yeah, just go. Just come and go.
Yeah, let someone else talk.
Yeah, well, we can have so Shez, Uncle Ian, how are you?
I'm fine.
You played with Jez and Stan for the Police as well, didn't you?
Oh, I did.
Now, one of my favourite stories, which I don't think's been told on the podcast, is when you went to Scotland.
Oh, yes. As you know, I am very poor with money. Answer, Jeremy.
Well, it doesn't matter, Shez. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You know, you always pay us back somehow.
Jeremy used to look after me with money. But one trip to Scotland, him and Stan decided that they weren't going to look after me. And Scotty and Neil Gregson are all my friends. So off we went to Scotland. And I had to run into Preston, making the bus late. And I got back on the bus, I had 93 pence on me. 93 pence. I remember it distinctly thinking, I'm going to be really hungry tomorrow afternoon.
And thirsty.
No. I could always have a wee, Jez, as you mean. Anyway, Stan took the piss out of me all the way to Scotland. We got to Iron Bridge and he was throwing pieces of cress at me. I knew that he'd look after me. I knew that he'd look after me. He always would look after me. There was no way he'd ever... Stan's my lifelong friend, remember. But in those days, I was 26. I was annoyed and whatever and blah, blah, blah. So I'm sat with Jez and we get to Scotland. We all get in the hotel, and the bosses say to us, "Right, we're going playing golf. You lot better sort yourselves out. We've got a really important game tomorrow. Make sure that you're all right for the game in the morning." Yeah, no problem. So I walk up to this woman behind the bar. She says, "Whatever you do, better go down the hell." Dinner, go down the hell. You're down the hell, you did. So we all look round at each other as we're going out fucking hill. And off we went down the hell into Glasgow. And I stood outside this place at 11:25 with Jez up saying, "Do you think you want sauce on your fish and chips, Jez? Are you just going to have salt and vinegar?" He said, what we said, he said, "Do you want sauce with your fish and chips?" I said, "We're having sauce." We walk back up the hill. Have we been doing the hill? Wake up in the morning. Opie says, "Shez, I'm pissed." I said, "Yeah, so am I." We get up. walk downstairs. Ken Ashburn's there, looking like a Freemason. What have you been? No problem with me, Ken. We go to the ground, we look at wicket, and it's like looking at Green Hill snooker table. Stan, by the way, gobshite, all the way from Lancashire. By the way, I've got lost in Preston, waiting for 2 hours. All the way to Scotland, took piss out to umpire Brian Upwood. Brian Upwood was a right good lad, but he had the world's thinnest pads. If he'd been hit with a tennis ball that had broken his leg, and he used to hit his pads every time he got out for a duck, he once scored 6 points at Stableford. That's good, isn't it? Died good. Anyway, he took piss out of Hoppy all the way up to Scotland. Hippity hoppity. You told us that joke, didn't you? That you could never get the end to because you're shit at telling jokes, aren't you, Brian? Yeah, because you're not funny. Blah, 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 blah. We go out on this green top, second ball, it's in right in front. How is he, Stan? You fucking out, Stan. Off you go. Walks past him, holding his back, 500 miles, 300 quid, 100 quid he'd lent me, away we go. And the rest is history. I got anything bollocks on my metal box and stuff like that. But he dropped a catch, didn't you, Stan?
I'm back. I've just replenished my glass. Shez,
tell them about that time you upset Hoppy on way to Scotland, Stan.
Yeah, I heard it, Shez. You're on loudspeaker, but you don't really need to be. You missed the best bit out of that. We were really, really struggling. This was the national knockout quarter-final, and we were really struggling. And you won the game, but about third ball, we were something like 30 off for 6. And third ball you faced, you shouldered arms, but your shouldered arms front on. And the ball hit you straight in the bollocks. Yeah, that's right, Jez, yeah. Arms akimbo, legs akimbo, boof, right in the knackers. And I ran on with a box shouting, Shez, do you need this? But
I think the kind of start to that story was that, Uncle Ian, do you have to sleep with the windows open or something? You have to sleep
does he? That was in Wales. That was in Wales. We toured the world, you know. Well, certainly toured the British Isles. And he insisted on sleeping with the window opener, and I woke up again about 7 o'clock to hear this noise. I thought we'd a burglar. When I look, there's a seagull on the dressing table eating the complimentary biscuits. And I say seagull, it was more like an eagle. It was absolutely really massive.
Stanny, Gary, I will come and speak to you. Sorry. Stanny, what was it like playing with these people, please? With everybody in this group?
I don't know, because I can't play with anyone else, so it was just normal. It just became all very normal very quickly. Enjoyable. We're out to date, as you're probably hearing now. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stories about people who aren't here as well. I don't mean aren't here, not weird, but like the characters along the way: Proc, Matt Hope,
Ryan,
Rusty, Ryan. You know, they were just really good fun.
Chris
hilarious.
Tell us one about Chris Whiter then, if you've got a story about him.
Me?
Well, Stan shouted his name.
Yeah,
Chris Whiter, but a good bowler.
Were he the best bowler ever to play first-team cricket ever?
No, I won't go as far as that, Joseph.
I don't know, Shez. If I hear Joe correctly, he probably was the best bowler never to have played first-team cricket. Never played a game.
What about Ian Botham? Mark Hendrick. Not Dennis Lee, because he played.
Get me through, Sos.
Shez, what are you talking about?
So, Paul Stanley.
Yeah.
When you first came, how old were you? I know we had this when we had you on. How old were you first came in, first team?
First team, when Cameron was pro, so 19.
Right, so we had gone through a little bit of a transformation, I guess.
I played it same second team as Chris Whitehead.
Yeah, no, I mean, but we don't need to go down there. But first team, there was Iggy would have still been playing, wouldn't he? And Phil and Stan and these sort of players.
Played with all them at first team, yeah. Did everything. Live with Matt Hawke. That was an experience for 8 months.
Is there any stories around that, Stanley?
Matt were different. Matt were, I mean, he could. I mean, I've told one on Flegs' podcast about when he fell asleep in gutter at on Pin Street when they did the drain. But one that really sticks in my mind. We once went at York House. We were all out. And can you remember Please Don't Go by KWS?
Yeah.
Well, Matt threatened to take the DJ outside and give him a bloody good idea because he wouldn't play it.
Stanley, do you mean Casey and the Sunshine Band?
No, KWS, Stan, Please Don't Go. And he wouldn't play it. And
the cover Stan.
But when I lived with Matt, they put me up in. I lived in the spare room. And if you remember the spare room, there was only enough. I don't know if anyone went in Matt's on Prince Street, but the spare room, the double bed, only fit in the room. So from wall to wall, the double bed was in the room. And in that room was a boiler, which was a bit daft, really. The boiler was about 6 foot, about 6 foot up the bedroom wall. It was a strange place to have a boiler. But to get in bed, you had to get on the bottom of the bed and walk along it to get in. And then to get out, you had to walk back along bed to get out. You had to get out the door. Anyway, I used to, when I lived at Matt's, I used to like having people around for sleepovers. You know what I mean, Jez?
I know what you mean, Stanley. And what a great story this is.
I used to like to have like a friend round for a sleepover every now and then. But it was a combi boiler and it was absolutely knackered. So you had to keep reigniting it. So I'm letting. I used to lie in bed with my friend who had it sleepover. And all of a sudden, bedroom door would burst open and Matt walking, and he had a dressing gown, a green dressing gown, but it just basically caressed his thighs. That was as it went. And he never wore any undies. And he used to get on bottom of bed and walk along it. And then start trying to reignite boiler, so you'd have like and then boiler would fail, and then he'd just get up and walk out. It used to do that no matter who were in the room. It didn't bother him. No one did. Tiny dressing. But it was different.
Paul, what's strange about having a boiler 6 foot up a bedroom wall?
Jez, you were going to ask Stanley something. Oh, sorry.
Is Matt Stanley still here?
He keeps dropping in and out.
Well, a bit like committee meetings.
I was just going to mention to Paul really what his thoughts were coming in the dressing room then, because obviously we were trying our nuts off and we were at that age where we were doing okay, and Stanley's coming in as a very, a fantastically promising bowler. The likes of Phil and Stan and Iggy and that lot. I mean, how did you find their, contribution to your early days in the first team dressing room?
Their contribution, to my cricket?
To your development.
I mean, only advice I ever got off Iggy was before we played Alan Donald, and I said to Iggy, "What do you want me? You faced Michael Holding, Andy Roberts, Wes Hall, I think he told me." So I said, "What would you do?" He said, "Take your goal, look up, and set off running when he does." That was much of that. I got on with Phil. I did get on with Phil, but never really asked him, or he never really offered me much.
The same as
Stan just lived right corner and used to give me a lift, and we're always late. That was Stan's contribution. Got more out of Stan when we started running teams and things like that, to be honest. But on the field, me and Stan just, we tried to bounce off each other and had a laugh, and he used to get me into trouble. He used to try and take me to the dark side, Gary's dark side, He used to put me in naughty boy book by making me laugh. And as I've said before, there'd be sixes towering over us, and one of us would be shouting "man" and things like that. Just pass the time away. You know, great. Stan has always been good fun, hasn't he? I think Stan won't deny at that time as well. When it was easy to transition into the team because you Proc, Simon were already there, Ryan were already there, Matt were already there, so Blaise, so lads were going out drinking. We were already there. I was sort of the last one to arrive, so that bit of it was easy. But yeah, it were. I mean, the step up with cricket were a lot higher, but yeah, it was easy. And Jez were trying to do things different. It was just before Gary's time. Jez were trying to make everyone better as well. So it was good. It was good. Enjoyed it.
I think, if I may say, if we'd have all played now, my God, would it have been different? Wouldn't it have been different? That's the only. I don't regret anything, but I would love to play now.
Yeah, we'd have still won fuck all though, but never mind.
Move on, Molly.
It makes me appreciate things more, Stan. I don't know. As nice as it would be to win things, it wouldn't be what it was. You know, it's like it were almost sentimental. It were like the Trotters winning the millions. When you get everything, you know, everything's on a plate now. But with the struggle was brilliant. The struggle was absolutely brilliant. And that's probably where most fun was had, and why we can tell a lot of tales that we tell. You know, from working the bar and, you know, chopping trees down with Sarko and chainsaw. How anyone left that day with arms and legs, beyond me. You know, it was great. You did everything, and you did everything for free. And yeah, I'd like to play now with facilities and pick odd trophy up, but I wouldn't change a thing, to be honest with you, Stan.
No, I'd have that, Paul, but I would like to have experienced playing with Frankie, coaching you, the attitude of the first team, the facilities, as you've rightly pointed out, playing on different tracks too. But I do agree with you, Paul. You know, you are a product of your time, aren't you? And it's only the struggle, I think, that's brought us to where we are. And also, we're all pals. The strugglers are pals, and we tell loads of tales, and we remember the people that preceded us. And I sometimes think and I'll name names because they're the current incumbents. For instance, will Ben Heap and Charlie Cotton, great lads though they are, will they sit down and talk about their time like we talk about our time? Or will they even remember us? I don't know. And does it matter? I don't know.
I mean, the things.
Sorry,
Paul,
go on, I'll tell you what would be nice, and it might be a long way away. Is could we get like Lofty and Trevor Jones and Bush and Stan to do one of these, and Iggy to do one of these, and perhaps Brian Holmes, get him back into where he's loved and thought about, because Brian don't come anymore, and he should do, because he were a big part of, and Roger Brom, and do you know what I mean? Let's try and get those people back to where they belong with us. Does that make sense, lads?
It does, Ian, but I have strong thoughts about this, and I think Jez is with me on this as well. It shouldn't be for us to chase past players. Now, to be fair to Lofty and Tom Sullivan, what have you, they attend club funerals.
And Bush as well.
Yeah, and Bush as well, and Mick Ellis and people like that. Now, anybody that's been nowhere near, it's not because we've shunned them or thrown them out. That's their choice. That's their choice. A few years ago, about 3 years ago, an old bloke cycled on midweek. It was a district cricket match. And I always say hello to people that I've never seen before, and, you know, as a matter of point. And it was a chap called Ken Smith who played in the 60s as a 17-year-old, and he was an outstanding bowler and packed in. And he told me why. But people like Ian Regal and Higgy used to talk about him, and he hadn't been on the ground since 1965. Now, it's not for us.
Have a puncture?
It's not for us. It's not for us to chase people. We make them feel welcome. We go out of our way, etc. if Brian Holmes turned up tomorrow, we'd welcome him with open arms and we'd have a big laugh and a giggle.
Yes.
But we ain't got to go looking for him.
I agree.
Going on to Brian Holmes. Brian Holmes, here's a story. We once playing at Accrington and Brian Holmes had signed for Accrington. Can you remember?
Yeah.
Jez was bowling at him and he skied one to me at mid-on. And I've got to say I panicked. But it did go high.
But you
I
dropped
got
it.
in mind under it. And I must have missed it. I dived and I must have missed it by 10 yards. It landed. I think I got up and picked it up. It was probably inside fielding circle. They still ran 2. And that's Brian Holmes running 2. So I close it back in. And I'm a bit dejected. And Jez has had a real go at me. Gary Nordite doubled up on that. So I wanders down to third man, and there were 3 old fellas sat down at third man. And I get to third man, and one of them says, "Nay, lad, if bloody sun had dropped out at Sky, you'd have missed that as well." That is a 100% true story. But and going on about going, but a lot of people don't do that. Starting to play in front of people, that is a lot different. It definitely a bit different now because you're going to second team game now. And there'll be 50 or 60 on at Lowerhouse. But you're playing first team, and you won't play in front of spectators, and you won't be used to it. And when I first got, I used to get it all. You know what you have done at Barbers, short back and shiny. I once dived for a ball. I once dived for a ball at Tomberin. Again, Jez were ball, and I took a massive, I actually stopped it, and a massive divot came above me, and someone shouted his wigs fell off. But they were great. You know, they were great time. It was good to get used to it, and once you got used to it, you could take them on and you could have a laugh with them, especially them lads at Bake Up and stuff. I think one of them's got a bit nasty now, but he used to be good fun, did Eddie Cobb. He's got a bit nasty with it now, but as he's got older, but you were never prepared for that side of it. But it was great fun. I mean, you can't miss that as much as playing sometimes.
Yeah.
You're right.
Jackie Barnes coming on for Orange Juice. It used to be brilliant.
Yeah.
We drink drinks on at 23 hours, and Jackie Barnes would come and stand with us. Someone who's Charlie were big enough used to dip it in his juice as well. Give it to him, and yeah, good fun.
And Gary, what was it like captaining these at this time?
He moved 500 mile away, Joe. And carried on going.
Yeah, no, it were great, Joe. It were fantastic. I mean, you know, there were some tough moments, and it were almost like you had to get through and then just to sort of get to the other side, sort of thing. But you know, I echo what Stanley's saying. The times you wouldn't roll back and do any different. It were just there were an element of siege mentality when you were out, you know, against other clubs and stuff like this, and having a go and having the band. Where sometimes that were you felt maybe that's all we can do. You know, if you were up for a real hiding on a game or something, you know, you're playing Harper or Scuderia, we're there for their annual 250 runs out of their 1,000. You know, sometimes it just felt like that were all you could do. We're just stick together and have a laugh and everything else. But everybody, there were no. I mean, you know, you hear about sort of people scrapping in other dressing rooms and proper fallouts and things like that. And I can't remember any of that, you know, oddly enough, whether I just, you know, choose to forget it or whatever. But it was generally, if you played at Lowerhouse, you were there because you wanted to play for Lowerhouse. And that were like just a tick in the box, sort of mandatory thing before you started. So then when you get the likes of Stan and Penny and Proc, Ryan, Chippy, I mean, Chippy is a counterpoint to Stan. Literally, just 9 of us would sit back and just. If you were rained off, sometimes it were real do. You know, you just like the blue touch paper with one of them, and just 9 of us would just sit there and laugh and tears rolling down his face. For right, umps are out, ready to go back out.
Yeah.
It were amazing. It was such a, really proud to be part of that and have like real good friends like that going forward. It was immense, Joe. It was immense.
I think
Gary,
just to jump in, Gary. We said on the podcast that Matt Marquis is about the young lads at the time, so like myself, Johnny Russell, Charlie, Joe, Gav, Matt Marquis, and one of the reasons why we are probably still at the club now and still involved, and the reason why we stayed is because we were brought up in that time as well. So we were brought up around all this fun, all these things going on, the wag in the dressing room. We were just sort of starting in the senior sides at that. I think that's one of the reasons we're still there and still going strong now, because that's the environment that we enjoyed back at that time.
Well said, Matthew. If I can just come in on what Gary said there about sticking together. When we came off a game having been beaten, and as I say, we went through a 14 game run, have got to be.
I played in it.
We weren't laughing and joking as we walked off the field, and we probably weren't laughing and joking for the first 20 minutes in the changing rooms, because we did take it very seriously. But we did have to move on, and the humour would then come in. And I take
you wouldn't get through a season otherwise, would you?
No, and what Matthew said there, this is a generational thing. Matthew's. I was a young kid when Matthew's granddad was on the committee. Jez and Nicky and Matt's dad on the committee, groundsman, etc., etc., etc. Shez's dad working on the ground. That wonderful picture that appeared, I think Jez found it, of Phil Astin, Bomber, Bernard Sheridan, and Jeff working on the ground. Was it the cup final? Working on the ground.
No.
That's got to go up in the club room. Maybe the West End room. It's got to go up, because that captures everything. Characters, grafters. It's the full Monty. It's the full Monty of Lowerhouse Cricket Club.
Stan?
Yes.
Stan, what you have to remember is this about our club, and yes, I accept, I do neglect the place every now and again. And it's like, what you have to remember is we don't play for the best club. We didn't play for the best club. We don't represent the wealthiest club. But what we did is we're members of the greatest club. And that's it. No one can take that off us, ever.
Like it, Shez. I like it. That's very
profound. It's the greatest club, Jez. It's the greatest club.
Ian, I've seen a side of you with these last 2 days. It's Churchillian, Ian. It's Churchillian.
No, it's not.
What I would say is this.
I've neglected it, and I regret that. But
what I would say is this.
Where I think
we all go, Ian, you're more than welcome to watch it from Liverpool Road anytime you pass him. What I would say is this. Jez goes round the grounds. The lads who are currently play on the grounds, etc. I used to go around the grounds, but I don't since I'm the groundsman. If there's another club that's retained its old player membership and camaraderie than us, I'd like show me it. Exactly, and show me it.
Do you know what I mean? And we went as and Gary and Jez and Stan. To be fair to you, Stan, you were the first, and Alan Holding. Let's not forget the work that lad did. Were the people that started dragging our club, and it took 40 years for it to get to a position where it won the league. And you and him there, that little fat get there, picked that title up. And none of us did. No, but that little fat get picked that title up. That were under was in no way belittles anything that anybody ever did with Joe and Joe's love of cricket and anything like that. Lowerhouse Cricket Club earned that league championship, and when it got there were nobody happier in the whole wide world that we'd done that. The club and bless David and bless all the people that work with him, because David saw it and it took him a long time, and that day at home against Rotten was horrific.
Says you cannot divorce anything from anything. A lot of people refer to the period in the 60s and 70s, and maybe later on in the 90s, but particularly in the 60s and 70s at Lowerhouse's lowest ever point. And they often refer to them as the dark days, where of course the old committee and Jack Hayes, Joe Wadsworth, etc., were in charge. But their focus was keeping the club alive.
Yes.
Thanks to David Wren, we didn't have to have the same focus, because Jack, Jerry, etc., couldn't put the same money in that David did to tie us over the bleak times. Now, David always got paid back, but in those winter periods, I remember attending a meeting in the Lane Ends because they couldn't afford to light and heat.
Yeah, you told me about that before.
Yeah. You know, you cannot divorce anything. We're only where we are now because of where we were in the 60s. And no doubt, the 50s, the 30s, 1862, it's all interlinked.
But then you see that, Stan, where in the 30s, they award the highest run scorer. Who's this person? With a gold watch. Christ almighty. I won't keep having a gold bastard label. Never mind a gold watch. Do you know what I mean? And I don't know what your thoughts are, Jez, about all this. Because obviously you're like Stan, you're ingrained in it. It's unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah.
But then my dad said when he was a small boy, there were 7,000 people on Morris Cricket Club on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
Shez, you do know, sorry to interrupt, Jez, very quickly, you do know, Shez, that they wanted to award you with a gold watch after your fifer in the second 11 cup final against Ramsbottom, but they realised you couldn't tell the time.
No, Shez, you're right.
It went for trophy ever. You didn't win now.
You're right, Shez, and you look back at, let's talk about that goal watch in a minute. Let's see what we think, what went on there. But, what Stan's mentioned and what you said there, Shez, is that we're moving on and things have got to the stage that they're at. And I'm looking around. The reason I brought up about Friends and about, what the club's about and what do we feel about that is, Lowerhouse has been tweeting a picture every day. And I don't know if it was today's or yesterday, it was 4 years ago, that me and Stan got interviewed by Paul Hargreaves around the infamous Corrie season. Now we've done it to death on this programme. We're not interested. We just take out of it what we find humorous, and we've all moved on massively. But you read that, and it really brings it home. What the club was about. And we went through that, and you look back. Yeah, it was tough at the time, but it's a piece of piss now. And I look at the way the club's going now. Yeah, the characters might be different. They might think it's just a different era, and they will behave differently. And they might have podcasts or on the moon in 25 years' time and having similar sort of laughs that we're having now. So things, it's just different generations. And I look, and I've been down the club a couple of times over the last couple of weeks, and I'll tell you what, it's absolute all credit to the current organisers and directors and committees. How forward thinking is that we're going to look at improving the club whilst we're in this bit of a shit period, and then when it all come out in March, April, May, whenever, we're up and running again. It needs to be applauded. It really does.